Now, I'm just warning you now, my cousin just walked in, and he's going to say some really, really embarrassing, obnoxious things like, your massage therapist is here. So I'm just forewarning you that it will be coming. And I'm impressed you were on time, Dale. Kind of. So those of you that have been around a while know that I come from a long line of real estate people, right? My grandfather started the company 83 years ago, and I've been doing it. This will be my 46th year. And we just always kind of do it. That's what we do. We grew up going to open houses, sitting on floor time, if you can imagine. And from the time I was a little girl, my grandpa, we would go pick up rents, right? Before we would go do something fun. And he would tell me, see, the people that live there, they have to go to work, and we get to go to the beach. So the idea is to create income that you don't have to participate in. So first of all, and how does that tie into real estate career? Well, who has a better opportunity to run across and learn about real estate than real estate agents, right? Real estate agents, we've had this sign. This came from my dad. We've had it in our office forever. I'm the basis of all wealth, the heritage of the wise, the thrifty, and the prudent. I'm the poor man's joy and comfort, the rich man's prize. Right hand to capital, the silent partner of many thousands is successful men and women. I'm the solace of the widow, the comfort of old age, the cornerstone of security against misfortune and want. I'm handed down to children through generations as the thing of greatest wealth. Yes, I am real estate. Buy me and keep me. Later, I will keep you financially, right? So I think people come into real estate thinking they want to sell real estate, right? And yes, in order to buy real estate, you have to sell real estate because you have to generate income. But if you come into this business and you don't think about yourself and what you want, it's easy to get caught up in the everyday short-sightedness of closing the next transaction, right? Okay, I'm learning how to use this here. I just wanted to show this. Real estate is ingrained into our family. These are my grandparents. This is a board meeting, right? 1947, Harold G. Jervis Sr. and Jackie Jervis, that's them up there. This one looks like the Wicked Witch from The Wizard of Oz right there. But you see, that's what, almost all men, but that was Realty Board meeting, California Multiple Listing Board dinner meeting, Melody Lane, Los Angeles. So that just kind of shows you that real estate is kind of what I have always done. So this is where we kind of look at real estate, what it can do for you. When you think about, isn't it hard to save money? I mean, if you do what you should do, which is out of every commission, I know you all rent and put the money in for your taxes, right? Into the bank account, you put the money in for your taxes. I didn't do it, we don't do it, because that's the blessing and the curse of being a real estate agent is you don't put aside money the way a W-2 employee would, because money gets taken out of your check, correctly? So what you have to think about in real estate is, how am I going to make the money in order to buy real estate? Well, let's look at the difference between active income is money earned through a job or business as a direct result of a specific effort. Thus, this requires your time and participation, right? So if you want to make a sale, who has to show up? Yourself. You have to be there, right? Passive income is money earned with minimal effort, time, and participation. So passive income would be owning real estate, having annuities or investments, having a business that you don't have to show up for, right? That would be your passive income. The real estate profession offers both, but most agents only focus on the active part and ignore the greatest benefit: investing in real estate to provide a lifetime of passive income. Because at the end of this job or this career, we don't have a 401k provided by our employer. Back in the day, they'd give you a gold watch, right, when you retire. You don't get the gold watch anymore when you're done with real estate unless you have some real estate that you can rely on. It's all about Social Security, or if you own your home, That is what is retirement for a lot of people. But the bummer part of that is you either have to sell it or you can do a reverse mortgage, which if you outlive your mortgage, you could potentially be in trouble. But I think that, let's see, make sure that I'm not forgetting anything as I'm going. So that's the main thing to look at is active income and passive income. And as a real estate agent, one of the benefits you have is when you make income or you know what, I'm going to drop that there. That's on another slide. I'm getting ahead of myself. Why real estate? It tends to appreciate with or faster than the rate of inflation. Thus, it's a great hedge. So during COVID, what did prices do?
Shot up.
Right. And now, even with interest rates having done what it did, have the prices come down? No. It's a classic supply and demand. What does everybody need more than anything? A roof over their head, right? What's the first basic need? A roof over their head. So my dad would say to me, because we were never stock market people, and when I went to college, I'd ask my dad, what do you think about the stock market? I don't like it. You can't, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you're not in control of it, but what does everybody need over their head? A roof, and that will never, ever, ever change. It's generally leveraged, thus you get the benefit of the appreciation without needing to purchase all cash. So if you were going to buy a $500,000 asset, and let's say you're going to put $50,000 down, you borrow $450. You get the appreciation on $500, but you only use $50. So the appreciation you get on the $500 at say 5% is $25,000. If you took that same $50 and you put it in the bank, and let's say you got 5%, you're getting $2,500. The same $50, $2,500 return in the bank. Buy an asset for $500, $25,000 in return. Plus, the money you leave in the bank, it's getting eaten away by inflation all the time. When you look at what you can buy with your money in the bank now compared to before, versus if you had that $50,000 sitting in a building and you're getting appreciation on the $500,000. In real estate, you can add value, ADUs, capital improvements, additions, upgrades, which can also be leveraged, right? You can go out and get a HELOC. Because if you have equity sitting in your home, is your home appreciating any more if you have equity sitting there? It's appreciating the same. It's going up whether you're 100% leveraged or you own nothing. So you're not getting the maximum benefit of the return on that equity. So people say, well, I want to have a paid for home. I want to have a paid for home, which is great, but you don't get any write-off and you have a paid for home, but even with a paid for at home, you still have to pay taxes. You still have to pay insurance. So I think that's kind of, I know a lot of people Europeans, the whole idea is have a paid off home, have a paid off home. Here, it's a little different. I don't know if any of you follow Dave Ramsey. He's really, really good. He talks about having a paid off home, right? But he also talks about having real estate, and if you have real estate that is helping you pay off your home, that's what makes sense. Okay, we talked about that. Okay, 4 benefits of real estate ownership. There's 4. Cash flow. We all know what cash flow is. I can send this to you guys too. You don't have to write it down. Cash flow. You either make money, you lose money, or you break even. When you purchase a property and you're trying to buy with the lowest down payment, which is what you generally want to do because you want to borrow as much as you can, you may end up with a little bit of a negative cash flow. But you have to take into consideration the depreciation that you will get on that property, which if everybody is aware, depreciation is a fake expense. It doesn't cost you any money, but when you're deducting on your rental property, you're deducting the interest, the insurance, the plumbing, the gardener. There's a line that says depreciation. And on that line, you might have, depending on the price of the building, 30, 40, 50,000. That's not a real expense, but the government allows you to take this depreciation, assuming that the property its useful life is diminishing. So its useful life might be diminishing, but what's it doing? You're getting a write-off as it depreciates, but in the reality, what is it doing? It's appreciating. And it's funny because my dad passed about 1.5 years ago, but before he passed, I would tell him about houses we were selling in Maywood and Bell, Huntington Park, where his business mainly was. And I'd say, Dad, we just sold a house in Maywood for $500,000. He goes, those houses were old when I sold them in the 50s. How are they still standing? And he would say, there's no way. Bring me the escrow instruction. Show me that that house sold for $500,000. I mean, never in a million years would A, he thought they'd still be standing, and B, they would be worth what they're worth. So right now when we're saying, oh gosh, that house over on Phlox that we sold for $700,000, that's going to be $1.5 million someday. We're like, no way. It's impossible. It's impossible. That's the same thing my dad said. And if the houses have stood that long, they'll probably keep standing. Tax savings, you get to deduct your expenses, depreciation. Okay, here was what I was going to mention. As real estate professionals, you get to take a passive loss against active income. So let's say you make $50,000 in commissions and you have a rental property. And because of the depreciation, even though you really don't lose money, because of the depreciation, it shows you lose $10,000 as your net loss. You get to take that passive income and deduct it off of your active income, right? So you get to take a loss that you really didn't sustain. And only real estate professionals can do that, right? Other people that just invest in real estate that aren't in the business are not allowed to do that. Equity pay down, that's that little tiny bit on your statement of principal that gets deducted. Keep in mind though, equity pay down, portion of the monthly payment goes to principal. You borrow the money, right? So you borrow the money. The tenants pay it back, and you get to keep the asset. Think about that. Where else and how else can you do that? And the best part of real estate is you don't earn appreciation. You don't earn that. You don't have to do anything. It just happens. Appreciation just happens. Same in increase in market rents. I mean, everybody's like, rent control, rent control, rent control. Well, as I've talked in my office several times, rent control was the worst thing for tenants. Because if you're a landlord, you know you're raising your rents more now than you ever did. That could come close to the value of owning real estate. I mean, who here has a story about their house and how much equity they have since they bought it? Anybody? Linda. So you bought it, was it
I bought it and I was like, there's no way I could afford $1 million house. Absolutely not. I ended up with $1.7 million house and it's worth 3.5.
There. And if anybody would have told you it was going to be worth 3.5, would you have said, not likely?
Not that quick.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that quick.
Right.
But it was quick. I mean, we're talking 10 years. In real estate, that's quick.
Right. Okay, but would you have been able to save $2 million in 10 years? No. No way. There's no way. My brother Don talks about one of his first clients. There used to be a Bethlehem steel plant on Slauson. And he went out on a listing, and the man was selling his house. I think it was like $70,000 or $60,000 or something. And he said, I bought this house for $12,500. I've worked at Bethlehem Steel for 30 years, and I'm making more money on the sale of this house than the amount of money I could save in 30 years. So the trick is you have to make sacrifices. You do have to make sacrifices. When I bought my condo, I was like, oh, my payment was $1,400. Like, oh, how am I going to pay $1,400 in the association? I'm never going to be able to do this. But you learn, Dale, don't say it. You learn to cut certain things out, right? It's just like, I think that's a little bit of the problem with the new generation. They don't want to sacrifice anything. You have to sacrifice. What did they say? You have to live like no other now so you could live like no other later. You have to make sacrifices. And remember, being a realtor provides a great career, but investing in real estate provides a great life. Because the idea is Do you want to be 85 years old and putting up your open house signs? Now, if you love it, it's different. If you love it, it's different, right? Do you want to do that? If you do, then that's great, because nobody's going to judge your hobby over anybody else's hobby. But I hate putting up open house signs. I hated putting up, that was to me one of the worst parts of the job, right? I didn't mind taking them down, but putting them up, you had to ask the owner if it was okay to put it in there, and then you get grumpy owners sometimes and they say no. But that's what I did. I sold real estate for a long, long time, right? When I sold it while I was in college, and then I wanted a real job when I got out of college. So I worked as an accountant for Union Oil, which was really not a real job. It's not really a real job when they tell you what time you should be hungry and, slow down on your work because you work too fast. And when you come from this type of where you're in control of your income, don't miss the boat. And you haven't missed the boat. You haven't. You can still do it. People are still buying real estate. That's one of the things we really try and encourage agents and people to do is buy real estate, because if you take care of your clients, they will take care of you, right? But they can't let you see, they can't see dollar signs blinking in your eyes, because the minute they see that, what does it feel like? Don't like that. Okay, a couple things here I wanted to mention. Slides. Oh, yes, here we go. This is another thing that some people call it lucky, but luck is one, preparation and hard work meet opportunity. So things can happen in this business just by being in the business. Just by being in the business. It was in 1984, and I had my license. I was on floor time. Who here has done floor time, right? I was on floor time, and I got a call, an up call for, what's that?
Not everybody in this room knows floor time.
Oh, floor time is when it was your job to be the receptionist, right? You had to answer the phone, but you got any up calls were yours.
Any interested prospects were yours.
They were yours, right? And this lady called in, and she wanted to sell her condo in Norwalk. And it was the first FHA transaction that I did. And she kind of scared me a little bit. Her name was Betty Johnson. I don't know, there's just something about her that she was kind of rough. But I got along with her really well. And about the next year she called me and she said, Lloyd and I are going to sell those 8 units in Huntington Park, but we don't want to pay capital gains, so we want to carry the note. I'm like, okay. And so I started thinking about it. It was close to where I went to junior high. And I said, Betty, how much down do you want to carry the note? She goes, well, I want to sell it for $400, and I'll take 10% down on 8 units. So I was like, I don't have $40,000, but I'm going to figure out a way to get it. And I borrowed some of it from another client I had, Mr. Sokol, also in Huntington Park. See, so when you make friends with your clients and they want to help you, so I bought that property. I still have it. So I've had it for 39 years. I'm out of depreciation, but it makes so much money. And I think, okay, at the time, that was $50,000 a unit. It was a lot. It was a lot. And I remember, though, my dad telling me, but you're not having to go to the bank. You don't have to pay loan points. You don't have to qualify. So buy it. I had another case where I sold the house on Tweedy Lane, and then the man's wife died, and he called and he said, I have 2 duplexes on Luxor. I want to sell them, but I don't want to pay capital gains. Same thing. 15% down, owner carry. Market took a dump. It's the one I was telling you that I tried to get rid of. Market took a dump, value went down. He was nervous that I was going to walk away from the property. So he went to the Hope Trust Deed. Who remembers the Hope Trust Deed company? Jeff Hybe? He would buy notes. And he could sell that note of mine for a $90,000 discount. So he came to me and he said, I'll give you a $90,000 discount if you pay me off. So that property that I bought for $375, the 2 duplexes, now became $285. So again, that had nothing to do with me being smart. That had to do with being in the business and being around opportunities that come up that you have to look at through a different lens. You can't just look at it as, who am I going to sell this to? You have to look at it as, is there a way I can buy this? Is there a way? I mean, again, that first one I bought in Bell, we used our commission, and then I think we had to put in $2,000 more to buy it, right? I was living with my parents at home, and who would have thought I could have figured out a way to buy it? So you have to kind of think about, and it isn't being selfish because you're taking care of your clients so they take care of you. You're doing a good job for them so they help you. And again, you're not focusing on getting rich. You're focusing on building wealth so that, I mean, people talk, you hear sometimes the news about some of the politicians saying, you know, this generational wealth needs to stop. There needs to be more estate taxes and more this. And I always think, so let's keep the generational poverty, right? But the generational wealth is bad. And when you think about it, I mean, this is the greatest country in the world. Where can you do this? I know in a lot of other countries, you have to pay cash to buy property, right? Or the interest rates are really high, or they're all due right away, or you don't own the land. Maybe you own the building. Anna and Roberto, you guys own a property in Mexico, Rosarito. Do you own the land? No. So what do you have, a lease on the land?
Yeah, kind of. Because it's close to the beach, it's walking distance to the beach.
Right. So how long is your lease?
100 years.
100 years. Well, you're going to live 100 years, right? But the thing is, they're not making any more land. So if you can own land, right, use that land to help you out. This is kind of a, okay, any questions?
I just have one.
Yes.
I want to go back to the depreciation, not just because I don't, but that depreciation is optional to deduct, right? Because
No.
when you sell the property, you have to pay back all that depreciation.
No, yes, but even if you don't take it, you're still paying on the recapture.
Okay.
You have to take it.
But it does get accounted if you sell all that depreciation.
25%. You're going to pay it back.
Yeah.
But that's where the 1031 exchange
Right.
comes in, because that's the example I'm going to show you with this handout. A 1031 exchange is the way you're going to roll over that wealth, because if you make money on a property and you pay capital gains on it, you've given away half your benefit. A 1031 exchange, how many people here have done them before? 1031 exchanges. They're the best thing. I mean, but they haven't taken them away. They're trying. Keep paying your money to the, do you want to pass these out for me? This is just an example of the way.
Have you 1031 one of your properties?
I've 1030, this is going to show you an example. I've done a lot of 1031s off of that one property in Bell. I did a 1031.
How come you haven't 1031 the property that you've owned for 39 years and you don't have any more depreciation?
I know, I need to. I have that, and I need, there's no extra rent control in Huntington Park, and it just makes so much money.
But I thought you answered that question. Didn't you say that you're making so much money with that property that it makes sense?
Yeah, but I don't get any depreciation, so I'm paying a lot of tax on it. This year, I have a new property manager, so I've spent a whole lot of money on repairs. And you know, if you're repairing something, a lot of times people think it has to be deducted as a capital improvement over 30 years or amortized. No, if you're replacing something that's already there, like a roof, if you already have a roof on your house, what a surprise, and you have to replace the roof, you can expense it. So that's a big, big deduction. Instead of amortizing it and so taking so much per year, you can expense it, right? If it's something that's already there. Like if you remodel a whole kitchen, but you add in appliances that weren't there before, then you have to capitalize those and depreciate them over time.
What's your opinion on accelerated depreciation?
You know what? I don't know about it. To tell you the truth, I don't know. And you know what I also don't know about? I don't know about stocks. I don't know about, I have some money in a 401k. I have a nephew that just became a financial advisor, so because I want to help him out, I put some money with him, and he's making money on the money right now. But I don't know it. I like things that can touch and feel, and that people will always need. So these are 3 different exchange paths that I've done. So the first one was in 1982. I purchased that house and guest house. I paid $92,500, right? I sold it for $115,000, and then I 1031 exchanged into a Downey duplex on Comelette, $135,000. Isn't it funny that I can remember those prices exactly? I remember.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long, long time ago. So I kept that until 2006. I sold it right before the crash. Colin Clark sold it for $659,000. Never in a million years would I have thought. So I made a big fat profit. This is net of selling costs. Now, if I would have stopped there, I would have paid tax on the $490 and the $21. But no, you're going to took it, and then I bought a 4-plex on Myrtle. I sold at the peak, and I bought at the peak. That property on Myrtle was a thorn in my side. The tenants always were blocking people in the parking. I was getting calls in the middle of the night. It just was a thorn in my side. It wasn't, and then I got a really bad tenant that took forever to evict. So I guess in this case, I got rewarded because at that time, Chase was sending out voluntary principal reductions on loans. So they sent me a voluntary, if I wanted to take $232,000 principal reduction. So what did I do? I took it. But the property was still a thorn in my side. Or as Dennis Block says, you have tenants that are malfeasance, right? They just get under your skin. That property got under my skin. I just didn't like it. So we sold it for $730,000. Keep in mind, I bought it for $926,000. Sold it for $730,000, made a whopping $7,000. And then I bought another Downey 4-plex on Luxor. That was another one that got under my skin. The tenants were parking all over the grass. They were blocking each other in. I got a gang member in one unit that, I kept going over there, and he was just like looking at me. And I'm like, are you going to pay your rent? That one got under my skin too. It was an ugly property, and I didn't like that property. It didn't make me happy to own real estate. Even though I said you don't have to have the perfect property, maybe men are a little different, but just certain ones got under my skin. That one, I needed to get rid of. So in 2016, I sold that one, and then I had a 4-unit in Bell. If you go down to Exchange Path 2, I purchased a 4-unit in Bell for $275,000. So I sold that property in Bell. I sold that in the Bell one I sold for $800,000, the Downey one I sold for $900,000. I took that money and I bought a 14-unit in Downey. Never in a million years would I have thought that house and guest house on Riverside in Bell would have turned into that. But I had to weather some storms in there. But that is the absolute truth of how that chain worked and now. If and when I was to sell that 14-unit and not do an exchange, I'm going to pay a lot of tax. But look what it allowed me to do without coming up with additional money out of my pocket. And yeah, there were ups and downs in it. So a single family purchase for $92,500 turned into a 14-unit building. Keep in mind, if I were you guys, I would be thinking, oh yeah, her parents probably gave her the money to buy it. They didn't, but they taught us. What did they say? Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Give him a pole and you feed him for a lifetime. They made us do it on our own. My brother's first property was a 4-unit in Huntington Park. with 2 bathrooms, community baths. On Bissell, over by the bowling alley. And my brother was like, how does that work? And my dad's like, I don't know, buy it and give it a try. It was $36,000. So there's all kinds of crazy things that can happen in this business if you have to have your vision beyond the next sale. You have to open this way and think, what's a possibility? I mean, I hate that expression, think outside the box, because it's used so much. But I like to say, just take your blinders off and look and see what can I do. Again, so you also don't have to be in the same exchange path. Because as you see, I took one property from number 1, one property from number 2. I sold them, and I put that money together and bought one property. You can sell one property and buy 5. You can sell 5 little properties and buy 1. You can do reverse exchanges. That's a little complicated. I won't explain that right now. Do you do those?
I don't do those, but I do buy 4 units because it's residential loan, and I can pull equity.
Yes.
To flip properties.
Yeah,
I've
2 to
done
4.
that a lot.
I've done one flip with my brother, Jerry, and he only invited me in on it because he needed a partner. And I didn't make any money. I mean, I made like very little money, and I'm just not a flipper.
I wasn't either, but I just, married someone that has a contractor license.
Yeah, and I mean, some people, they make a whole lot of money in flips, but I've always had my eye on the long term. So, and flips are pretty volatile, and a lot of times with flips, you have to have cash.
You do, but, when I was working way back, and then I really was so focused on helping my clients, I really never thought about me, and then one day, this opportunity came. I didn't want to do it alone, because honestly, it was fear.
Fear.
And so my partner in real estate, Jaime, which 25 years later, he's still my partner, we bought this property in Pomona, and I remember I had a debt, like $40,000 debt, and I'm like, Jaime, my partner, was like, you got to do bankruptcy, but I'm like, no way am I doing bankruptcy of something I owe. So I ended up flipping. We ended up getting $160,000. I kept 80, he kept 80, and I paid off my debt and used that other money to keep flipping.
Yeah, so it can be done.
There's a lot of stories.
There's a lot of ways to build wealth. This is just the way I've done it. I'm not an expert in other ways. Flipping. My brother's done some flipping, and he's done some building. That isn't my thing. Maybe when I retire, I don't know. I want to work with dogs when I retire, not people.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Right? People are.
I think where you're coming from is, you without a risk, if
You have to take
you're doing it
chances.
for your clients, how you're not doing it for yourself? I think that was the impact I had.
No, and here's the thing too. This is not an easy job. We get yelled at a lot. I think in the chain of everybody involved in a transaction, the agents are the whipping post, right? We're the ones that get called that, this or that. It's our fault if the appraisal came in low. It's our fault if the roof leaks. It's our fault if there's a mistake on the loan docs. It's our fault for everything.
Oh, no. Escrow has the fault. It's always our fault.
You know what? It's always the one who's experiencing it that has it the worst. So you got to pay yourself back for the blood, sweat, and tears, right? You have to pay yourself back for the blood, sweat, and tears. And what other job, are you going to do that you have these kind of opportunities? My dad, he didn't have a college education. My grandpa didn't have a college education, right? My dad went to Bell High. He always says he barely graduated. He thought he was going to be an auto mechanic. You just have to take the chances and ask people. Anybody here, you can call me and ask me, hey, do you think this is a good deal? What do you think of this investment? If I know, I'll tell you. If I don't know, it's just like I don't know about flipping. I couldn't give you good advice on flipping. But, and don't let people scare you and say, oh, well, somebody I know from work, they got a bad tenant and it took them 6 months to get them out. Yeah. Would you rather be the owner of the property or the tenant? Because guess what? After the tenant's gone, what do you still have? An asset that's appreciating. But that.
You say, all of this is based on a long term. And people really focus on the short term, right? I mean, we just finished paying the first time, and we've owned property for over 20 years. It was the first time we ever had to pay $15,000 of relocation. And my husband was like, and then eventually he's like, wait a second, this tenant already has given me $100,000. What's 15,000? And then he got over it.
That's what we have to get. It's kind of like when you're a real estate agent and you get stuck paying for something that it was no way your fault.
Right.
You didn't do anything wrong, but you can't, that's just a line item of doing business. Just pretend like it was buying supplies. You can't get caught up in one of anything. You have to always look at the bigger picture. I mean, there's a lot of younger people, younger than me, people out here, except not Dale. And even if you're, he's acting really well behaved today, but he's not usually. Don't be fooled. I'm afraid to look at my phone because he's going to say, oh, I can't believe you said that, or what about this? But Michael, you've been in business for a really long, well, not that long. How long?
25 years?
Well, that's pretty long.
Getting there.
You're getting there. Have you bought real estate?
Yes.
And has it served you well?
Yes.
And do you think,
My first one was a duplex after my first paycheck as a teacher. First paycheck, my mom had a duplex on Marbell that fell out of escrow, and she said, "You buy it. I'll give you my commission, so you don't have to put anything down."
right.
That was 97.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'd like to say that my dad would give me commissions, but he never did.
I turned around. I was like, "This is a cool concept."
Yes.
So then I turned around the next year, and I paid it forward. I bought my girlfriend a duplex on Tristan, 1 block away.
Girlfriend?
She ended up being my wife, so it worked out.
But you didn't know that at the time. You didn't know that at the time, though.
No, I didn't.
You bought her. You bought her.
So I'm like, you're buying a duplex.
Oh, got
I
it.
said to her, "You're buying a duplex." So yeah, it worked out. And so those two duplexes, one was 190 not 97, 98. 190 was Marbell, and 195 a year later was Tristan, on Tristan and Buckles.
Oh.
And that was what, 98, 99. In 2004, I sold them for $420 and $425, and bought 8 units for 1.3.
You exchanged.
I did an exchange.
Yes.
So I took what, 840-ish thousand?
That he did nothing for.
Nothing.
Nothing. Well, he did the repairs.
Yeah, right. But that comes with the territory. So yeah, it worked out okay.
It's always the same because my first purchase was 4 units for $150. I still have those units, and I had no idea I was going to repair them. But I met Hector, and Hector gave me $40,000, and he oversaw the repairs.
Yeah.
And we weren't married. I was like, I could have taken.
You
all
did
of
it.
But,
Yeah, I mean, Dale and I bought a property in Huntington Park, 3 units on Otis for $165. We don't have any depreciation left. We just did our taxes because I do taxes at the last minute, and we're going to pay a lot of tax on that. And we keep saying, should we sell it? Should we exchange it? You know, what should we do with it? What should we do with it?
now you've kept your properties for a while.
I've kept them a long, don't say it, Dale, much longer than she's kept her husband's, he's going to say. Not on this last one. It's been a long, long time. It's been 28 years. That's a long time.
Do a list of all your husbands.
I didn't 1031 exchange though on those. Who has been thinking? Oh, Erica.
So, since you've bought property, like you said, in the 100s, 125, now that you sit back and you look as a broker, sell prices that are going on now, for a duplex, what are you looking at? Minimum 700,000-800,000. What goes through your mind seeing that, knowing that you bought property for like?
Is that I'm just like my dad now. There's no way that property could be. Like those duplexes on Lexer, there's no way those properties can be worth $1 million each. But they would be because that's $500 a unit. You could sell a duplex for $1 million. Like, there's just no way. There's just no way. They're little and the kitchens are old. Like, there's just no way. And I'm wrong, right? There's an agent in our office that has been talking about buying a house for 25 years. And he keeps saying, there's no way that property is going to go up. There was one in Northeast Downey for like $700,000. No way. Nope. Nope. Now it's worth $1 million. Nope. Nope. Not going to go up. Mark my word, it's not going to go up.
But the crazy part is like, all of this real estate that we're saying is so expensive, it's gonna be double
I know.
in 10 years.
Is it going to still be standing?
So that those blinders that you're talking about, we need to take them off.
No, my mom told me that when she sold real estate, buyer into Marina Escrow in Bell, they'd type up the escrow instructions. They would type up the loan application right while you were sitting there. Everybody qualified. Everybody qualified. They didn't even run credit. And everybody got their loan at Western Fed. Everybody qualified. And, I mean, now it's different, but people qualify. They do what it takes, right? You all have had buyers that did what it took beyond, they had to take their blinders off, probably with your help, and bought property. You got to take blinders off of yourself and figure out a way that you're going to get in the game. Because I tell you what, Social Security doesn't give you much, right?
Or it might be gone.
And it might be gone.
Sorry, I hope not.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Put you in that fear so you could go get your real estate.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a home, and I know a lady that got a reverse mortgage, it's great for her. She wants to live out the rest of her life in her home, and she's able to do that, right? If she didn't own her home, there's no way, and she has like $700,000 equity. What would she do? She could sell her home, but she doesn't know how long she's going to live. And if you go into an assisted living or whatever, they're not cheap, right?
Oh my God, those are expensive.
And you know what? I drive by every day on my way to work. I drive by the one at 2nd, right behind the post office. There's a really ratty one there. It's like a county facility. And almost every day they have a pest control truck there. And I see the older people coming out in their wheelchairs, and there's always an ambulance, and you look at the windows and they're like dirty, and like, that's how people have to get to live the rest of their life? That isn't what you want, right? You don't want to turn into an old person that suffers, right? And we're in the profession that we can do that. Even just buying your home can make you very wealthy, even if you don't buy any real estate other than your home.
I know you said that you stay away from things you don't understand, right? And you're like, I know real estate, not stock. Is there any reason why these examples have all been like either residential or units, as opposed to, have you ever thought of buying commercial properties?
Yes.
Does that matter to you? Or?
Well, I think part of the reason, and obviously my dad was a huge influence on me, is that when the economy wanes, people still need a place to live, right? Businesses close. Look at how much office space there is now available compared to before COVID, right? People moved out, they started working at home, and now they like working at home, and they like it. So, but people still needed a place to live, so that's why I haven't done commercial. $400 a month? No, because look how much you're saving off your income, right? Active, passive loss, active income, right?
1099, that's really great.
Yeah. Did anybody not get their lunch? Okay. So on this, the depreciation, so remember this was our basis for our depreciation, and the depreciation is 12, let's just call it $13,000 a year. And let's say after 5 years, you decide to sell the property. You've taken $65,000 in depreciation, correct? 5 times. I'm a numbers person, so if I get too fast, stop me, because my mind thinks in numbers.
I guess that accounting degree came in handy.
What's that? Yeah. So you have $65,000 in depreciation that you've already taken. Everybody follow that? So if you were to sell that property and you made a profit of, say, I don't know, pick a number, $150,000. This depreciation is taxable at 25%. So that's going to be, what is that, 13, about 16,000. Because you can't have your cake and eat it too. They're letting you take this write-off, so you're not paying tax on that, right? So you have rental income that you're getting that you're not paying tax on because you're deducting this. So when you go to sell it, you have to pay it a portion of it, not the whole thing, but a portion of it. So some people get confused because they think if they buy a property for $500 and then it goes up in value and then they refinance it and they have a $700,000 loan against the $500,000 property, they think they can sell it and it's not a loss. No, it is a loss because you put $200,000 in your pocket, right? You already pulled money out. And like, well, I'm not netting anything out of it. Oh, yeah, you are. You already did it ahead of time. You got your money out, so you can end up selling a property and owing more money than what you're netting because you have to remember you already took the money out, right? You already ATM'd your property. You took the money out, so because you took the money out, is that the question you were asking, Yahia?
No, I wanted to show them the difference, like why you have to buy more than a million.
Oh.
People don't explain it, why the depreciation is such a big factor. So people will exchange, the capital gains.
Yes. Yes, so let's just take that Huntington Park property, right? I bought that for $400. Let's say the depreciation was 70%. The building is worth 70% to depreciate. That's $280,000. At the time, I think it was 31 years, but let's just say it's 30 years. What does that equal? Not quite 10. Somebody do that. 280,000 divided by 30 years.
9,300.
Okay, so let's say 9,000. Okay, so I have depreciated. Now I'm all out of depreciation. I don't get this write-off, this fake expense. I don't get it anymore. It's fully depreciated. So if I sell this property now, Yahia 8 units in Huntington Park, how much? $1.8 million. Okay. So if I was to sell that property and not exchange it, I've got my original land value, because land never depreciates, right? The land value is what this is minus this. So that's $120,000. And then my gain, say the selling expenses on that, say are $100,000. So that's my land. So that's my basis. I don't have a $400,000 basis anymore because I fully depreciated it. So I have to pay, my full depreciation was $280,000. I have to pay 25% tax on that, which is $70,000. But keep in mind, I don't have to pay 100% on it. 25% isn't that bad, so I'm paying $70,000 recapture, and that's the land, and these are the selling expenses. So that's $220,000. And the fact that I have a mortgage on it doesn't have anything to do with anything. That has nothing to do with what I owe, and I do have a mortgage on it. So if I take the 220, which is my I have the 120 and it cost me 100. So 220, if I take the sales price of 1.8 and I take out my original basis, because I already depreciated all the building, and then the selling expenses, then that gives me 0.000887.5. That's a big tax. That's a big tax that I'm going to pay. Plus, I'm going to pay the recapture of the depreciation. So am I going to pay, well, California, we have the highest tax, right? 14% is our highest tax. So why am I going to take that money and not buy another building? Unless I want to get out of the business. That's going to be a huge amount. I owe $600,000 on it, right? So if I owe $600, it means I'm going to get 900, right? So yes, I already got that money. I did. I paid off the old people. I'm an old people, so I can say old people. And then I'm going to pay, I don't know, how much would the tax on that be? 35%. Okay. The people don't realize that. Oh, I want to cash out. I want to cash out. Okay. But I'm not going to do a calculation for them. They have to go see their CPA. Because they try to get us to tell them how much tax. Well, I don't know. How much is your depreciation? What's depreciation? Right? Margie, was it you that had that client that had that really crooked CPA that the father went to or something, and we kept calling him, and maybe it wasn't. It must not have been. He was like a CPA, notary, wash your car, do everything.
It was one of my clients.
Yeah, and was trying to tell us we were wrong about this. So make sure, too, that you're using a good CPA that knows.
CPA wanted to also handle all of his transactions.
That's right. And he was also an agent. He wanted to do it all.
Mr. Vasquez is still my client.
And he wanted to create his own tax returns and all that. And the other thing, last thing, guys, don't break the law, right? Do it the right way. Always err on the side of doing it the right way, because if you lose your license, what do you lose? You lose a lot, right? Do it the right way, because in the long term, you want to be able to put your head on a pillow at night and not worry that, oh, this is going to come back and get me. Julia, you had that one recently with, was it the septic? Or what did they change? Oh, the mold. The mold. And Julia she's not happy when her transactions cancel, but she'd rather have that now and find him another house than the headache after. Because if you end up in a lawsuit, this guy had a lawsuit, Ariel's. It was such a phony lawsuit. But since you're eating go ahead, eat your lunch, and I'll tell you the story. He sold the property in Azusa to a buyer, and it was tenant occupied before, right? Yeah. And so his buyer is sitting there one night waiting for her husband to come home from work, and somebody walks up to her side door. Oh, her husband got home, and they're sitting there watching TV, and somebody walks up and shoots through the door and kills the man. So we get sued saying that we should have known that was a gang area. Well, the buyer just lived down the street. So the buyer knew. Or it was mistaken identity, and we should have known that the tenant that was in there before was a gang member. Because whoever came to shoot him didn't mean to kill that person, meant to kill the gang. So they sued us for like $10 million or something. Well, E&O covers $1 million, but my point on that was it used up a good 2 years, 1 year, 2 years of his focus, right? Remember, you're like, I can't work, I can't. You know what it settled for? $3,000. He even went to the guy's funeral, and then a few days later is when we were served with a lawsuit. So he didn't do anything wrong. Right? Nothing wrong, but it doesn't mean that you won't get sued. But don't let it destroy you. That was a tough one. That kind of even had me occupied for a while.